Hello, Karen. How you doing? Okay, I've got your post up here, and it looks like there's more to come. So let's just take a look at what we have here. I think we've got a couple of files up. We've got your word association, and then then we've got your story with your pitch, your summary, and then your sketches are in the body copy. Okay, good. So let's go ahead and take a look and see where we're at. Okay, let's go ahead and jump right over to the word. Let's go to the word association. I think this is really fantastic. It's such a great exercise. All sorts of different creative disciplines use word association to an exercise in creativity. So as you can imagine, an illustrator would create these lists of adjectives and nouns and make some kind of a random choices to pair the two words together and then try to illustrate that particular outcome. And it can be done in songwriting and lyric writing and poetry and any kind of visual painting, any kind of visual art. It can be done in writing as well. So it's really a fantastic exercise in creativity. One of yours really got me laughing. As I go through these, I kind of think of these kind of different possibilities. And this one, it's arrogant hair. Arrogant hair. And anybody who was around in the 80s knows that pretty much all of us had arrogant hair. We got hair out to here, you know. So yeah, that was. I just thought I'd share that to you because I really got a kick out of that. The arrogant hair of the '80s. I think that was hilarious. Anyway, so yours. What was your word association? Came out of sketches. Detective Bassett and Little Mermaid. So I want to talk about that in a second. But I was wondering what your actual word combination is. Well, let's jump down here and see what we have. Okay, Distressed Mermaid. So here's your pitch. The pitch is fantastic. That's great, and your summary is fantastic as well. Now, I want to talk about your sketches a little bit because the sketches I think are a little misleading in a way, unless I'm not really understanding. But don't forget, this is raster image processing, meaning that we're using bitmap images here, meaning we are using images that come out of a camera as opposed to compositing illustrations. We don't want to composite illustrations in Photoshop because we don't need to. We can use Illustrator to composite vector illustrations and Photoshop to composite bitmap raster images made of what? Pixels, right? So this is a little bit unusual. I think that another thing that I think is probably really needs to be reconsidered is using actual copyrighted figures as the basis for your characters. I would not recommend doing that because in the long run, if you come out of this assignment with a piece that's portfolio worthy and you put it in your portfolio, you're going to get asked questions by a portfolio reviewer or at the time a hiring professional. And the questions are going to ask you about your choice of using copyrighted images. And it could feasibly be a somewhat embarrassing situation. So I highly recommend that you don't use copyrighted characters to create the characters for your story. Now, as far as this goes itself, I think that one of the things that we really need to keep in mind is that suppose we went along with this, we went with this particular sketch and said, okay, let's go ahead and work this out as a composite. What you would have to do is you would have to use illustrations, vector illustrations of these characters, of course, because they don't exist in real life, right? So using bitmap images, you could find an image of a mermaid. You could find a composited image of a mermaid, or you could even find an image of a woman swimming and then go ahead and composite a fish's tail onto her to create a mermaid. Conversely, you could use a dog and you could create a composite with a pipe in the dog's mouth and a hat on the dog, as opposed to using a pre-illustrated detective dog. Do you see what I'm saying? I hope that makes sense. Let me know if it doesn't, because it's a really, really important consideration for the successful planning and conceptual development of this particular assignment. So please keep that in mind. So I think everything is pointing in the right direction. I would like to see some more sketches. I'd like to see those sketches reflect original characters as opposed to copyrighted characters. As far as your setup goes itself, I think that this is really good in telling the story. I know it's not complete. I know it's just a sketch, but we've got the characters in play. She's lost her treasure. The poster doesn't have to tell the exact story, but as long as you're introducing the characters and kind of showing these kind of narrative relationships, you will end up creating a good visual narrative for the actual piece itself. So keep that in mind. All right, so great start. Keep my comments in mind. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or if I can provide any clarification, please let me know. I'll be glad to do so. All right, good start. Thank you very much.